episode title. That should be the name of it. There's going to be a lot of those today.
Mm, all of what I said, of course, is true in the technical sense. So, yes, I'm glad you finally found a worthy man for your daughter. I I remember looking after her myself, but it is clear that a merchant is far better suited than a Viking.
He says, "Are you insulting my son-in-law? He is a
What?
Viking and a merchant all in one."
Oh, of course not. Is he both? Is he both? I thought he spent all his time now in his merchant duties.
He says, "Have you not heard? They call him the Crushed Hands."
I thought that was just because of the duel he lost.
He says, "All up and down the coast of Ireland, they fear Aitlin Crushed Hands, for he has destroyed the hands of a half dozen cairns."
Oh, well, this is news to me. Interesting. Well,
So I think Ingle wants to say something. It's obvious that he wants to make some offhand insulting remark to you, but he doesn't want to dishonor you in his hall. So he just
yeah.
kind of holds back. And
Ah, well,
Ingolf, who is his wife, kind of comes around from behind the throne very creepily. And she's very short and gnarled and dark. She looks like Un the Crone in 20 years. And she says, "Baldur Odinson, indeed, they say you are a man of dishonor and cowardice, so it is no surprise that you do not know the nature of the men who serve you."
that is a terrible tragedy. Who would dare say such a thing of me?
I just said it right now.
Yes.
And
And who did you hear it from?
Ingold kind of like pats his wife's hand and is like, there, Ingolf. No need to insult the man. Just go back to your waters and your dice." She's like, "Mock me. Doom shall befall Baldur Odinson before this wedding is done. Mock me." And you can hear her like rattling a bag full of bone dice. And
Mm,
she just starts stepping backwards into like shadows,
mm,
but you still hear the rattling of the dice.
mm. Well,
And then God is like, "My apologies. My wife can be dramatic from time to time."
oh, it's okay. I would not. I will not take any dis. I will not be dishonored by these such actions if you allow me a little leeway instead. I uh,
What do
I
you
met.
require leeway with?
Well, I hope to not be disrespectful, but I was very sorry to hear of when I met your son outside that he had forsaken the gods.
So Ingold just shrugs beneath his massive bare shoulder pads and is like, "My son is his own man. He still serves the community as a man.
Yes, but now he cannot replace you as Gore.
I have Aitlin for that now. He shall be my project. It's
Mm,
good to have a young Viking man to mold the next generation. I believe
mm,
that Freyr has sent him to me."
well, if you say so, I would certainly would myself. I would have wanted my son to take my place, but I suppose you're right. You do have a decent enough replacement.
Um, Interjecting here, what was the name of the guy outside that's converted to Christianity and is
Simander
Ingold?
Ingoldsson.
This one.
Sumander Ingoldsson.
Mm.
And he is Christian, but otherwise still capable.
He is the sect that he is part of is known as the Gospel of the White Christ.
Gospel of the White
I believe that's
Christ.
what it's called. It's definitely something involving White Christ.
Okay, and Christianity is not commonly respected. Is that correct?
It's not going to be for several hundred years in
Okay,
Iceland.
so it kind of
Mm-hmm.
makes him a bit of an outcast in his own village. Is that right?
It would seem that way, and yet it seems everyone you've talked to so far has been accepting about it.
Okay. Is he married?
No,
Okay.
it is not the gospel of the white pizza, chat. No. We were so fucking serious for like an hour of role playing, and then that showed up, and now we're giggling again. I
I have
guess
no
we
idea what you
better
guys are talking about.
just wait. We better let it go.
Oh,
Let
there
it
it goes.
go.
There you go.
Yes. Ah, well. Well, then let us pray that everything happens well, and don't worry, man. Your wife hasn't upset me in any way.
He says that is good that my wife has not upset you. After all, she is only a woman. And he like bangs his staff on the ground, and the gold rings that are set through it all flop around and make loud noises.
Ah, yes.
Yay, traditional gender roles. Reaffirmed.
All right. I'm going to go away and
Excellent.
try and think about what I can do. It doesn't seem like I have a lot of friends.
That's no one's fault but your own, I think.
Hmm.
You're literally like, yes, honor is nothing, money is everything.
Yeah. Scrooge
Then you
McDuck
come
in the
back
wrong
home and
time.
you're like, well, I have some money. I guess I'll just throw it all at this one guy, and he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna go date your girlfriend.
Yep. Mr. Steal Your Girl.
Well, yeah. Of course, if I'd have known about that sooner, that intro could have included the part where I mercilessly stab him for doing that. But
Oh, don't worry, there's still time to mercilessly stab him.
yeah, I'm thinking about I might have to do that.
Alright, cool.
Men, always thinking with your swords.
So I think it's time to cut over to Olaf Olafsson. It's now night outside. And Bertie Halled's daughter and Olaf Olafsson Jr. are with you. You're staying as guests in someone's house.
Sure.
And they've given you like half the house to work with. And... Whoa.
Isn't it?
Yeah. It's so hard it literally knocked the amulet off of my face.
Hashtag vision problems.
Thorstyrkiti.
Yeah, so Bertie Halled's daughter is like, Olaf Olafsson Jr., run along. I need to speak with your father on things that a man and a woman should speak on. And he is like, I do not listen to you. I am my own man now.
You have the fire of two suns in your heart, my son. But you must sometimes listen to your mother.
He's like, she
And
is
this-
not my mother. She is just someone we live with.
Does she not feed you and help clothe you? Does she not help you hold the axe that carries the weight of our boat? It is through the strength of our arm and the might of our home that we carry on through the winter. We cannot ride boats through every storm. We must come to shelter eventually. And here she waits.
Olaf Olafsson Jr. is like, Father, you have become weak for this woman. She is a foreigner and an English woman. Why do you... And he just storms off and like into the next room and continues his rant with the family that actually lives there and is like, English women. And they're like, English women. And Bertie is just like, your son is becoming a problem between us, Balder. Or Olafsson.
My son will never be a problem between us. He just needs some shaping.
There's something I wanted to talk to you about, Olaf. Two things, really.
Speak your mind.
I think it's time that we had a child of our own.
That is certainly something that we should talk about before you started popping out babies. Ha ha.
We are talking about it now if you would be serious about this. You don't need to run away like a man. She just looks at you. She's got like her hands on her hips and it's like, let us speak on the subject of babies if you are not too afraid.
Speak. You seem
want
to
to have
have
one.
something on your mind,
I want to have one with you.
as would many people, but you are certainly at the front of the list. Why now?
She just rolls her eyes and she's like,
I am Olaf, Olafsson.
Sometimes I do not know why I ever offered you the shelter of my house.
And your shelter has been kind to
You
me.
speak like a child sometimes when what it is I need is a man.
Don't think I am not appreciative of your hospitality. But you must remember, this is as much my house as yours. We have both fought to keep it. We have both worked hard for it to be here. Now, why? Why a child now? Why, after a poor Vikinging, after coming back, having aligned with Balder and Un the Crone, who have led us to nothing but misfortune so far, do you choose now to burden our house with another son?
Another son would not be a burden. Husband.
What if it were a woman? Then what? A
there
burden.
would be no burden at all then.
Hmm.
I would love to have a daughter.
There is certainly a time,
You
and
are
perhaps
a man, are you not? Can you not provide for another child?
I can provide what needs to be provided for, and don't you question me again with that tone, or you will, or you will test the bounds of my patience.
Wow, I want to know where you were about to go with that. I thought you were going to say something about the back of your hand, because that seems to be the way things are going lately. But yeah, you're like, test the bounds of my patience, and she's just like, you desire you have the bounds of my patience tested. I speak your language, even though it is not my own. I cook for you, I clean for you, and I am no free woman.
And why should you be? You were taken. You have been given more liberties than anyone else in this land would give you by me. What have I asked of you? You have no child of mine. You would have had plenty of children if you had stayed with the man that was here before, but I have given you
You killed him.
leeway. He is dead. Would you rather have his children?
I would
Was
have
he
a
not-
child.
You have half a child. You have my child, and eventually you will have another of mine. But you will not have one this winter.
It feels as if I either have 2 children or 2 men. I can never decide.
This wedding has you all riled up. You women get so excitable when you see other people so happy. Trust me, your emotions will calm when the storms come. We
I've
will
not been
speak of
married
this in a few weeks.
I haven't been married a tremendous amount of time, but I'm pretty sure I would get smacked for that one.
I think that she has like a soup ladle and she gestures towards you threateningly and she's like, you will pay for that, Olafson. Some cold winter night when you wish companionship, you will pay for that comment.
Come, Bertie. You know, this is not your world. This is a dangerous place for a young woman. You are much younger than some, and you have done well. You have stayed safe in this house. My arm and my Viking boat have provided for us. You must trust
She's
in
like,
my judgment of
your
this
Viking
culture.
boat provided for no one this season.
Do you
Your
spit?
son could have led a better raid according to your own man.
And one day my son will, and he will remember your kindness to him. He needs our attention. He will come around only if we both work on him. If there is some other distraction, he may not fall in line. We must focus on him. And when there is time, we will talk of another child. Let us see how he fares this winter with our help. If you are truly a mother of my child, you will be a mother of my child. And I will not discuss it further until you are worthy to be the mother of my child. And I will walk out of the room.
Excellent. I think at that point, someone wraps their arm around your shoulders. And we just see like this huge Viking arm wrap around your shoulders.
And so, hold
no,
on a second.
We seen cut forward. Unless you're doing something else.
I am, yeah. So before I walk out, I want to spend my bond
Ah, with who?
with,
Bertie?
yeah, Bertie. Sorry, I was finding my sheet, so I'm
Man,
gonna
that
erase my bond.
conversation was real as fuck, by the way.
Yeah, so I want to look into her heart.
Ah, excellent. What is it you seek in the heart of Birdie Daughter?
How does your character feel about this?
Hmm. She feels like the sooner she can get you to have a child with her and declare her a free woman, the sooner she can start taking more control of her life.
Okay.
So the fact that you're kind of literally cock blocking her here is very upsetting to her.
Well, I mean, hopefully that last sentence highlights what should be required of her. If she
Yeah.
helps me turn my son, you know, if she helps him grow and helps him grow as a man, and he becomes stronger and better and will follow in my footsteps like a mother should, then she's worthy to have another son.
I love how you insist it's going to be a son.
Well, I don't insist, but that's what a Viking wants, right? So you only talk about sons when you want sons.
Of course. Sounds like a manly thing to say.
I mean, it seems appropriate for the time.
Oh, yeah. So I think we zoom forward, and it's nighttime still. The moon is directly overhead, and Olaf Olafsson, Balder Odinson, and Un the Crone are all together in this feast hall, speaking with the man.
So, out of curiosity, are we at that point in the story already where we are going to be giving the gifts? Because
Nope.
I had more
Nope.
things I wanted to do.
No. This is
Okay.
this is the day before the wedding.
Okay.
This is the day you arrived.
Okay.
And you're at a table drinking with Heidi Holdmason, who has pulled Olaf Olafsson out of the uncomfortable conversation with his wife, and he is like, "Ah, you Southlanders, all of you. How are you old pirates doing down there? Still Vikinging?"
Who is this that pulled us out?
Heidi Holdmason.
Oh, okay. So old Haiti's back. All right, cool.
Heidi's back. He's
Back
now,
again.
like, you probably don't remember him being this big, but he's now 7.5 feet tall and
Okay.
seems to weigh about 300 or more pounds. He's now a huge fat dude.
Haiti, it seems the world has been treating you well these last few years.
He's like, "Oh, yes. When the Gothi was chasing me for smuggling, I decided to settle down in a Hascarl crew, and I ended up in a life of what some might call piracy. But then I found the gospel of the White Christ, and Simander Ingoldsson took me in, and now I am a man on his farm, and I am a free man. The wealth flows quite well. I have my own cattle and my own plot of land, and I have a shack. It's not much, but I call it my own." And he kicks the keg next to him. He says, "I brewed this alcohol myself during my free time. While you men were out of Vikinging, I was making the finest mead in all of Iceland."
Ah, quite the boast you have there. Certainly, we should all try it to see if it lives up to your tales.
He offers each of you a gift of mead.
I accept the gift.
And the gift is each of you gets a keg of mead, which is worth a few bits of silver.
Okay.
The mead is fine. It tastes of honey and fresh, clear spring water of the mountains.
A fine gift. I'm sure I will enjoy it. Surely I can give you something in return as well.
Haiti's like, "No, Moon the Crone. I have heard of you from Thora Avesdottir. There is nothing that you can give me that I would want, unless it was a child."
Very clever. Yes, that's she starts drinking. Kind of uncomfortably.
So, like, Haiti reaches over and punches Balder, Odin's son, in the shoulder and is like, "Balder, I have not ever seen you before. I have heard about you from the people of this village. You are not what I expected."
Oh, is that a compliment or, well, you know.
What I have heard is that none would oppose you. A man would not even fire an arrow in your direction for fear that you might kill him.
Hmm. Well, I wouldn't say I was that violent. Is that what people are saying about me?
He says, "Oh, only the most violent of raiders. Ah, that you are a man strong and proud. There are
Well, I
some
am.
few thralls who mutter about cowardice or some such, but they are foreigners. They do not understand our ways. You keep the gold flowing in your village, and I have heard that it is quite prosperous. The man
Oh,
Aitland is
indeed.
marrying Laura.
Oh,
Must have done well
yes.
for himself."
Yes. He has done quite well for himself. With help, of course, from the rest of the village. And I see that your village here is quite prosperous as well. But it's sad, though. Don't you miss the old Viking days?
He says, "The old Viking days. You mean the times where men would chase me because they thought I was a smuggler, even though never once have I smuggled a single thing? Now
Oh,
they
I
cannot
mean, but
touch me. I am shielded by the gospel of the White Christ. I make the oaths that I wish, and I follow the faith that I need to, and no man may call me out on a crime that I have not committed."
uh, well, I mean the entertainment of going to the Southlands and taking what we will because we are stronger than them. That weren't you saying you were part of a pirate
So
crew?
he like does this. He's like, "I may once have been part of a crew, but they would not trust me.
So
They felt
yeah, I have a question. What
yeah,
does that mean? Like, what does piracy mean to Vikings?
they
Like,
attack other Vikings.
okay. And that seems like it's a big no-no.
It would be a big no-no,
Hmm.
yes." And he's about to explain it. He's like, "So the crew that I joined, they would not have me. They called me Fumble Fingers when I dropped a torch in the boat.
That is very unjust of them.
Perhaps. But then I dropped an oil lantern in the boat, and it caught a fire before we were about to launch an attack.
Holy shit.
Well,
The
that,
boat sank, but fortunately I knew how to swim, and so I took off my armor and I dropped my weapons and I swam to shore."
That
well,
does not seem like a very prosperous trip.
He says, "It was very prosperous. I landed on the shores and I walked and I met the man Simonder Ingoldsson.
well,
And it is then that I gained true prosperity through the following of Jesus Christ.
I see.
I was
So
on the
you,
verge of committing a great crime, and instead I have committed the greatest of non-crimes."
I am most
well,
happy to hear of your fortunate events. It has been a weight upon my heart to worry about you. There was always the chance that we would see you walking into our town and I would have to take you back to England. And I'm afraid I might not have been able to bear that.
So he looks at you. And remember, he's 7.5 feet tall. He's like, "Speaking of bear, I don't know that you would be capable of taking me back there. Could your boat handle the weight of a man like me?"
Perhaps not after a winter wait, we went raiding in the summer.
Summer.
The summer like the past, but by the end of next summer you will have so many boats to carry you, we will have to lay you across them sideways.
So he slaps you on the shoulder and says, "As funny as always, Olaf Olafsson. I have heard that you have a son now. You also named him Olaf Olafsson."
It is tradition after all. My father and grandfather, Olaf Olafsson and Olaf Olafsson, would smile upon it knowing that their name lives on.
"I knew your grandfather, Olaf Olafsson, and he might have pissed upon it, but he was incontinent."
We all cannot have the glorious death in battle that we so desire.
sadly.
Don't
But
wish
no,
for that too
let us
hard, guys.
let us not worry about death and dishonor tonight. We will talk
No.
about strength and drink this fine mead that you have
He's
brought
like,
us.
Valhalla!
Valhalla
Allah.
indeed. And I will slap Balder particularly strongly on the back in hopes to encourage him to participate.
Well, of course, I enjoy drinking to Valhalla. Can you still do that with your new faith?
He says, no, I cannot, but no one is watching.
Ah, excellent. I like.
Uh, smuggling a little old faith in your heart, aren't you?
I think he punches you in the shoulder again, and he's just like, God, you always bring up the smuggling. I never did find out who accused me of that.
Hmm.
You didn't? Oh. I wonder what would happen if we ever found out.
Baldur's like, he never figured that out. It was me. What?
I don't know
No,
if Boulder
no.
ever knew Heidi.
No, no,
but
no.
perhaps
I was-
he did.
Like
No,
the way that
Baldur-
he perked up, he's like, really? You never figured that out?
No, Balter
But-
is thinking in his head, hey, I wonder what happens if I lie to him convincingly enough that it was Aitlin.
So
So
I have a question.
Yep.
I have a relationship with Haiti.
Yep.
But do I have a bond with him?
Yes, you should have 2 bonds. The last session and this session's game bonds with.
Okay. All right.
Is
So,
there
but I
something you'd
haven't.
like to do?
Yeah. So, but I haven't completed the relationship with him.
You haven't
But-
marked a relationship with him.
I haven't marked a relationship.
I
So
think once you mark a relationship with him, you should have all of 4, right?
I will.
Okay.
And so,
It's almost like I purposely set up this whole conversation to give you an opportunity to make a roll with him.
yeah, I know. And so,
Hmm.
in order to complete a relationship, you have to make what a
You
roll,
have
but
to-
it can't.
No, you have to make a move. Doesn't have to be a roll. Just any
But-
move.
All of the male moves are aggressive.
Don't forget common moves.
You can also
Oh.
boast about him.
You could boast about him.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was looking for. So I was gonna ask if I had to spend a bond to try and
So boasting
And,
allows you to roll to gain a
yeah.
bond.
right. Okay, yeah. So if that's one of my Huskarl moves.
Yep.
Yes.
So,
So
I would
it's-
definitely like to do that.
So who are you boasting about? Who are you boasting to? And what is the subject?
So I think it would be appropriate, since we're talking about Valhalla and strength and we're drinking, it would be appropriate to tell some tale of when I used to know Heidi, to Balder and Un. And so I will attempt to regale them with some story of perhaps his cunning from when we were a child.
Definitely not his weapon skill, right?
Yeah, definitely not his weapon skills. Yeah, yes. Some tale of cunning, perhaps how what would be appropriately cunning for a Viking? Perhaps how he outsmarted somebody like he like maybe it's like the old what's the got the other guy to paint his fence for him type of thing.
The Tom Sawyer.
Tom Sawyer. Yeah, it's sort of like a Tom Sawyer type of tale.
He got someone to paint the side of a mountain for him.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, something like that. So
Shit.
what is that, a 7? I think it's versed for boasting, right?
Let's see here. On
Yeah.
a hit, that person takes +1 forward when they act on what you said.
On their
That
cunning.
he has to tempt fate. Uh-oh.
Yep.
Oh, poor him.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not very useful with these boasts so far. So far I think I've boasted twice, 2 or 3 times, and every time it's tempted fate.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
boast, and you see many in the area don't seem to be very friendly towards Haiti. Like, they're like, oh, really? Haiti used to be very clever. Well, used to is a... I don't know that they would say something like used to is an operative word. That sounds like very modern talk. But they would say something like, yes, used to. He used to be very useful. He used to be very clever. I suppose that's true.
All right.
Nothing directly insulting, but it's definitely out there.
it's
Right.
hanging in the air. So, I'd like to use this opportunity to, as they're talking, to have a little chat with my good friend, old Un here.
Oh boy. I'm gonna sit back then and just enjoy this one.
So I actually have a real quick question before we get into this conversation.
Okay.
Do you have to be present with someone to look into someone's heart? Or can
I normally yes, except if you have Spellweaver on them, because your Spellweaver ability specifically lets you spend bonds when you're not present.
assist or hinder them? I don't think that I don't know if that counts when you look into someone's heart.
Yeah, you have to be present to do that.
Okay. All right. Do those Spellweaver bonds apply to look into someone's heart or no?
Yeah, they're
Okay.
bonds.
All right. So, Balder, you've been very quiet this evening. What ails you?
It troubles me. Our village. Seeing this place, it's how great it has become. The crops, everything. I worry that the winter will not be kind to us, especially not some of the older generation. There will not be much food.
Indeed.
And-
If only
and-
there was someone here who would be favorable to our cause.
Yes, I'm afraid that despite the gifts I've given Aitlin, I think he has decided to not repay us in kind. Most unfortunate.
I do believe that we will need this village's resources to survive the winter. How do you think we can come to an agreement such that we can acquire food to survive?
Well, you know, if Aitlin were out of the picture, I'm just saying.
Are you suggesting that I engage in skullduggery?
Well, of course not. But
Well,
let's say you cast the
Is that a word?
bones.
Like, did I use that word right?
Skullduggery is a word, and it's the kind of archaic language you would use in such a conversation.
Well, I was thinking, what if you were to cast the bones here while we're drinking and enjoying ourselves, and because, well, Haiti here has given us such a great gift, and figured out for him who it was that all those years ago turned him in for.
You want me to roll the bones to look into the past?
Yes, to look at.
So that that's I don't know if there's a move per se that I have that lets me do that. Specifically, I can look at the future. Like I'm like out of character. I'm trying to. I don't know if I can actually do this.
Yeah, you can't look into the past, but there might be some way if you worded it to look into the future. Be such an outcome.
Okay,
You could do that out of character. Out of character, I'm suggesting you look into the past and tell him that everything is Aitlin's fault, and we get him riled up and start some
Sounds
fighting.
to me like you're actually suggesting she just lie to him instead of
Yeah,
passing the bones.
I was just about to say something along those lines.
Okay.
Pretty much.
So, out of character, Aitlin is not the key.
At that?
Aitlin's not the key. Aitlin is a consequence of this, of kind of our current situation. Really, I think the key to getting what we want is this guy Sumander Ingoldsson. He is an outsider in his own village. He has the most legitimate claim to the title of Gori, and he has the reason to want to do so, because if he is the leader of the village, he can promote his religion.
That is true.
The thing about Godi is that it's a religious title. It's a priest.
It is a religious title. He cannot do it.
Yeah, it's
but
like being a lawyer and a priest and a mayor all in one.
But he could cede his responsibility to someone else.
What he could do, though, what he could try to do, though, is convert the entire village to Christianity, and make himself priest of the village, as
So
some.
that's a tall order, and I think we're gonna have to, if that's the road we want to go down, we're gonna have to do something pretty drastic in order to convince them to, or to get the village to convert like that. I
Base,
think the Gospel
base,
of the
no,
Way.
basically, I want him to try and get killed for trying.
So I here's
But
here's what I'm thinking, and I think that we should go down this road of trying to push Sumander and Heidi by extension into a position where they try to vie for power, and potentially replace Ingalls and Ingolf, if not. At the very least, dishonoring Aitlin in the process, so that that he would be unfit husband for Laura.
push, use the religious angle to put them at odds.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what we've got to work on. We haven't learned anything else about Sumander and Heidi, other than the fact that they were former Vikings. They're in low regard now because of their religious choices.
Hmm.
So I am more than happy to roll the bones to look into Heidi's future on your behalf.
We do some things. We can have multiple plans.
Yeah.
I'm always my plan D is a very simple stabbing of Aitlin and hoping for the best.
Did
But
you say your
let's
plan D? I just want to
Just
mention
stab
in
him.
plans H through Z, Harrison dies.
see
That's
see
a
I have
reference to
Wow.
language.
Okay, so
see,
I am
I
actually going to roll the bones on behalf of Balder to look into Heidi's future. But on the flip side, I think we should be thinking more in terms of how to encourage Christianity in this town more than like specifically just having someone stab him in the back. I mean, we can either have some try to get Samander to abandon the gospel, or we can try something else. I am. What's
get
that?
everybody here hostile towards one another. Let the anger flow through them. We we can't have them
Wow.
all
Is this
together.
literally Star Wars Episode 1 and you're Palpatine?
Right?
Okay, so I
I
am
don't
gonna.
I don't think Palpatine is as evil as Bolton.
I mean, they're literally discussing the demise of another ruler, and their backup plan is to kill the other ruler if they can't sway him their way.
I
If
have
you
not agreed to
ever,
any of that.
if you ever thought
In
there
his
was
own
an
feast hall,
alignment,
nonetheless.
other than evil for these two people, you are sorely mistaken.
Okay, so first off, I'd like to point out that Un has not agreed to kill
Yeah,
anyone.
Un
And in
hasn't.
fact, she
Un's
thinks
been
it's a
all
terrible
like,
idea.
let's turn everybody to Christianity.
Well, at the very least, encourage some other power base within this community, because you know what,
Would
we
you say
need the
that Un
resource.
wants to change the status quo?
Un has to change the status quo because
It's
currently
true.
we're on the path to starving in the winter, and this is kind of a necessary opportunity to survive.
we need to change the status quo because the status is not quo.
Okay, well,
Yes. Okay,
as another
so
reference, I just want to hop in here that you are on the way to destruction. You have no chance to survive. Make your time. Ha ha ha. So before you make
Well.
your roll, I feel like this is the perfect time to literally fuck our viewers over by taking a break.
okay,
Excellent.
So we're going to take a 10-minute break. We'll be back at 15 after. I
Okay.
want to point out it's been 2 hours and we've made exactly one roll.
Hmm.
I thought
Yep.
when I gathered these particular players together, they would be perfect for a non-Pathfinder game like this. And I'm glad to see that it's worked out so well. That everyone is willing to commit to the fiction and not be like, okay, I roll sense motive, and then I roll diplomacy, and then, there's no real way to get what I want without killing him, so I'm just going to kill him. Because I feel like that's something that happens a lot in Pathfinder, where people are like, I'll just use force to resolve all my problems.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm
Force is
im-
it's the
I'm
plan
impressed.
B.
Yeah, I'm impressed
After
at how well what they called this game is what it is. They say it's a conversation, and that's literally what it's been. I had a hard time grasping that when I was reading it, and I think it
Yeah.
works really well.
yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
All right, well, let's get the timer up here. we'll be back, and we'll learn what Un the Crone has to say.
Okay.